Hello, my name is Sam Breeding. The other day on Facebook, one of my old high school friends was lamenting about how much they enjoyed the rolls that we used to enjoy in our cafeteria. Now, you know, when I went to high school, it was before there were fast food type food in the cafeteria. We had real home cooked meals. And a lot of those meals were delicious, and the rolls were particularly a delicacy, and we all enjoyed those. Well, somewhere along the line, my mother got the recipe from the lady in the cafeteria, and we have enjoyed those rolls for many, many years. My mother used to make those, particularly during holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, and it became a family tradition. My mother got to the point of where she was unable to make those anymore, and so I started making those, and it has become a family tradition for all of us. I've taught my children and other family members how to make these rolls. So for all those people out there who want to remember how good these rolls were, I'm going to go through and show you how to make them. Now, a couple of things you need to know about this is these are refrigerator rolls, which means that it's a minimum of a 2-day process. You make the dough, you put it in the refrigerator overnight or for several days, so you can make this several days ahead of time. And matter of fact, with what I'm doing today, I'm making these rolls on a Sunday. We will be enjoying them on Thanksgiving Day on Thursday. So the second half of this video will be done on Thanksgiving morning when we do this. A couple of other things I want you to know. This is a brand new mixer. I've never used it before. So if I look a little awkward while I'm using it, then you'll understand why. Now, with a lot of homemade recipes, sometimes the recipe gets misplaced, and that's happened to me a time or two. So I want to show you what I've done. I have got a sticky note here, and I have put it right here on the cabinet door so that I'll always know where this recipe is. So I'm going to take it out right now, and we're going to put it on the outside where we can look at it and get started. The first thing we want to do is activate our yeast, because this is a yeast bread. So come right this way and let me show you what we do. This is yeast. This is the same type of yeast that you might buy in the grocery store in the little packages. If you use the little packages, you want to use 2 of those packages. But you want to activate them. And so to do that, yeast needs something to grow on. They are living creatures. And so put about a teaspoon, a little bit more of sugar in this. And then you're going to want at least 2 heaping spoonsful of yeast, and you want the water to be warm. You don't want it hot, but if the water is not warm, the yeast will not activate very well. So you want the water to be a little bit warm. And take a look at this and see what it looks like now, because in a few minutes this is going to be bubbled up as this yeast gets growing and gets activated. Let's look at our recipe and see what the ingredients are. The 1 teaspoon of sugar and yeast is already started now. Now the next thing we need is a combination of 3/4 cup of oil and butter. This is something that you can change around to whatever you want to do. Sometimes I use a lot of canola oil. I've even made this with olive oil, and it's very good that way also. But a lot of the family likes it made with a lot of butter. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to melt a stick of butter and get this started. And we're going to pop this in the microwave for a second. You can see we're not quite melted here, so let's hit it for another 10 seconds. Getting a little bit better here. I can feel from the cup that it's still not quite there, so let's do 10 more seconds. As you can see, we're almost melted. So what I'm going to do now is let's look and see how much oil we've got in here. And you can see we've got a half a cup. So I'm going to put a little bit of canola oil in here to make it the rest of it up. And this is just your standard canola oil. And a large container that we got at Sam's Wholesale. We're going to go that up to about 3/4 cup of oil. Let's take a look at our yeast again. This was very fresh yeast, so it's only been about 2 minutes, and you can see it's already going pretty well. So let's get on with our next step. The recipe calls for 2 eggs and 3/4 cup of sugar to be mixed up. Now let me tell you, our family likes this to be a little bit sweeter, so I usually put a whole cup of sugar in this, and a lot of people like that. I'm going to get my bowl here, and I'm going to crack some eggs. There's one. Doggone. My wife made some hard-boiled eggs, and she evidently put them in the egg container, so let's go in here and get another one. Okay, good. Okay, now for sugar. This is a 1/4 of a cup, so I'm going to put a whole cup of sugar in here. Again, depending on what you want, you can put 3/4 cup minimum, but if you want it to be a little bit sweeter, you can add a little bit more. Now, also at this time, let's go up, and it needs 2 teaspoons of salt. Okay, and let's dump the oil in here. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to put this in my mixer. Again, this is a new mixer, so I'm going to spray with a little pan, and I'm going to see how to get this going here. Now our recipe also calls for 2 cups of warm water, so I'm just getting the same cup that I melted the butter in, and we'll be getting 2 cups. And let's get that another mix or 2 here. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to get a little bit of flour in here before I start adding the yeast. I've never used one of these devices before. The total amount of flour that we put in here is between 8 and 10 cups, and you can just kind of measure that by the consistency once you get started with this. Now, this is a 1 cup. So this is 1. Two. And we'll kind of get that going here. Now I also like to put in a little bit of whole wheat flour, and if you want your rolls to have a nice delicate flavor, this white whole wheat flour is kind of an ultra fine type flour, so it's not as heavy as the other whole wheat flour. Now I've made them both ways and they're delicious either way you go. But again, family preference is to use this. And I'm going to put 2 cups of this in here. So we've got a total of 4 cups of flour in here right now. Now, as you can see, our yeast has done very, very well. It's very active, and I'm going to go ahead and put this in here. And at some point, I'm going to have to exchange my mixer with a kneading hook. So that's 5. Okay, now I'm going to change hooks now. If I can figure out how to do this. There we go. I knew this had to work. As you can see, we're getting it kneaded in a nice consistency here. I'm going to kind of push down some of the flour. As you can see, it's looking more like dough should look. Okay, now it's time to get the dough out. And I'm just going to get this mixed in just a little bit better here. After it spends a day or two in the refrigerator, it's going to have a different consistency than this. Now what I'm going to do, what I have always done to put this in the refrigerator, is I have put it in some Ziploc bags, the good old gallon size Ziploc bags. Just take it, pop it in. And you seal those up and put them in the refrigerator at least one day and up to a week. I have made these rolls a week later and they are just as good that way. Now, if you're like most families, you're going to go ahead and make 2 or 3 batches of these because there's usually not enough to go around when you have a big family get together. But the next step will be on Thanksgiving morning, and I will show you how to roll these out, put them in a pan, and let them rise. Okay, good morning. This is the second segment of the making the homemade yeast rolls video. It is now Thanksgiving morning, and as you can see, we're getting a nice mood set in the room. We've got a little bit of Vince Guaraldi music going on to kind of soothe us. I've opened a bottle of champagne to get ready for the relatives who will be coming in a few hours. This always helps, by the way. So what we're going to do, about an hour or two ago, I took the rolled dough out of the refrigerator, and as you can see, it's warmed up a little bit, and the yeast are very active and it's making gas. So we're going to roll these out and get them ready to go into the pan. Usually these yeast rolls need several hours to raise. So we're going to put a little flour on here. One thing I like to do when I do this, to help get this out, I put a little bit of flour in here. And shake it. Then we put a little bit on the other side. And as you can tell, this is a real home with puppies running in the background, and you may see most anything here during this video shoot. So we're going to get this going here. Now I'm going to dump this out, spread it out a little bit. Now I've got a pan that I've already sprayed a little Pam in, but we really like a lot of butter in this. So what I've done is I have melted a stick of butter in here, and I have put a little bit of canola oil. And I'm just going to butter the pan real good. Just going to kind of knead this just a little bit. And I'm just going to roll it out. In the past, I used to roll this dough very thin and then double it when I put it in the pan. And I realized that was a lot of extra work for nothing. So now I'm just going to roll it out, and you want it between 1/4 of an inch and 1/2 inch thick. If you're from Tennessee, you probably have one of these. So I'm just going to cut these out like so. And what we do is we take these, and I've got this pan. I used to use glass pans, and I found that this is a whole lot easier to buy some of these disposable pans. But what I do when I put them in is I pop these babies in here like this. And I pat them with a little bit of this butter mixture before I put them in. Okay, and we'll be back in just a second after I've done a little bit more of this. Okay, as you can see, I have a pan of rolls here. We're going to have a crowd today, so I'm going to make probably 4 or 5 pans before the day's over with. And you may have wondered on the one I had, we had plain on it. I sometimes make some variations by putting whole wheat. I have sourdough starter that I put in them. So put a little variety in these sort of things and it works out good. Now these usually have to rise at least 2 to 4 hours depending on the temperature inside your house. And what I do is I just get some plastic wrap and I like to cover these up like so. And I just set them to the side and we'll come back again in a few hours when we get ready to stick these babies in the oven. And after you have let them raise for several hours and put them in the oven at 350 until they're done. People ask me how long to keep them in the oven, and I say till they're done. Look at them, see when the top of them turn brown, and you will know when they're done. But these are absolutely delicious, and you will not regret all the effort it takes to make them. So this is Sam signing off. I hope you all enjoy these rolls. Happy Thanksgiving.